companies, CSR, and impact.
This call is now being recorded.
Sorry. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
You're audible, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So there was some voice in between. I thought that I was not. So what I'm going to do that I'm going to limit my lecture to three things: companies, CSR, and impacts of Corona, and largely on stakeholders like employees who are part of society, communities, especially rural and urban poor, and consumers, again part of society. You'll agree with me that it is really difficult and challenging to separate the issues which have emerged or appeared today, as coronavirus has not left any room for individuals. Issues and challenges are inter and intra related. I will, however, try my best to contain or limit myself to CSR and Corona. So I read again the topic CSR, a quality approach to post-emergency and development, which has, according to me, two sides. One is that the front face or direct side of it, which says that CSR is one of the approaches, rather the best approach to deal with the ravage of corona crisis, or for that matter, any emergency that occurs anytime. And the second is that the rear or rather shadowed side of it, which puts a question mark on CSR and does ask a question whether CSR, the way it is being understood and practiced, I mean, the conventional philanthropic approach really has potential to address the challenges of coronavirus or any such disaster on the economy and society. You see, both are opposite to each other, which is very, very complex dilemma. And that's why, things are not that simple to answer. And this particular theme which you have set for me is really very complex and difficult to really speak on. But I will definitely try my best to speak, and I hope that it will do good or reach out to you. So let's address the first one first. Yes, I agree, and I definitely endorse that CSR has potential to emerge as the best social responsibility balm in the times of difficulties to deal with ravages of disaster of corona pandemic. So yes, I agree. Such disasters put stakeholders of business at risk, various kind of risk, especially employees. So I'm just picking up only few of the stakeholders who are associated for my discussions today. So especially employees in the workplace who get exposed with no insulation for being laid off. They become the easiest prey of the management consultants. Any HR department given a task to bring down the cost, the first suggestion from the HR goes to the management is that we can lay off a few employees. And that's the easiest one, and without understanding the implications and impacts of it. So this is one of the severest impact of corona virus, I mean to say, going to be. So what could be the impact of such decisions? If we have to examine, so I'm just taking you through some statistics. In India, we have almost 11.23 lakh private companies besides PSUs and MNCs in the formal sector. And the total number of workforce engaged in the formal sector in the country was close to 75 million as on July 2019, which was then estimated to go up to 102 million by 2021. Now, in between, 2021 has not we have not reached 2021. We are in 2020. So in between, now the coronavirus has, you know, uh, impacted a lot. So the trend has just reversed now post March this year, and that happened due to corona crisis or coronavirus. So it is now estimated that the lockdown, which began on 25th of March this year, now forced almost close to 13 crore people out of jobs in both formal as well as informal sector. So this is the impact on employees in workplace. Now, if I remind you, or just I can request you to just recall that if you look at the images of mass exodus, which TVs are running, then also and now also, it is really very shocking. It is very disturbing, and I think these images shame us, and has failed us as a civilized society, and our claims to be human. It really angers me. I know that it must be angering, you will be also feeling the same. When you and I see small kids walking on the highways with their families under scorching sun with temperature up to 40 degrees Celsius. We cannot actually even go out of this room for 5 minutes. And here, people are walking 10 hours, 12 hours, and many people have lost their lives in the process. So these are the things. In fact, I just want to put across with regard to people associated in workplace. Now move on to say marketplace. Indeed, consumers are likely to be impacted, and they are going to be impacted with the rise in prices of essential commodities. Although there is no exact estimation done as of now, how consumers are going to be impacted and how much the intensity of that would be or could be. Yet, in fact, I am bring forth here for our discussions that they are going to be. So we cannot deny the fact that consumers also have to bear the brunt of corona pandemic along with manufacturers as well as traders. So this is what is going to happen. So it is all likely that so communities we are saying, because when we are talking about those migrant workers, so means they are integral part of the communities. Also, they are part of the either workplace, either in formal or informal sectors, wherever. So they are workplace getting impacted, and also the marketplaces where consumers are going to get impacted. So this is what in sum total I'm saying that so this is how our stakeholders going to be impacted. On the other hand, what is happening? Corporates are now asking the governments to give them relaxation so that they can start production. We certainly have to help our economy to make a comeback, and for that undertake all measures to do so. But my only urge or submission to the businesses is that they should not compromise on, number one, human values, and second, ethical and moral principles. This is a very tough time, so they have to do only right things. I'm sure, and I know that also corporates are doing things right. No, but here, in fact, what I am trying to say, corporates are needed to do right things only and show up a big heart. And this is what, to my understanding, is the best and quality CSR, which can be great help to India as a country to in its fight against the ravages of corona pandemic. I remember, the 25th March, even before 25th March, when we got the message of that corona is going to really trouble us, then I could sense that, so what is going to happen. And then only, in fact, I had, circulated my message on social media that the biggest CSR of a company is not in terms of giving water to people. That of course is, but the biggest CSR would be for any company if they do not retrench people. They do not fire people. They somehow manage to retain their employees, and we are seeing that all these kind of things we are discussing, and then you can listen to also the discussions being held on television. So, but it's not that all companies are engaged in that. There are some companies, and definitely we have to acknowledge that they are absorbing the shock wave and remaining committed to take care of employees with some alternative arrangements to layoff. And that is what to me is the best CSR. So I really salute to those sort of companies which are not really laying off their employees, retaining them. Maybe they are paying less, or they are taking other measures to retain them. So this is something, so I just wanted to tell. But in all, the question therefore is that what is the best CSR in this scenario of depression? Although I have been saying that this is the best CSR, is it not to make sure that the companies provide insulation to their employees from the fear of job losses, which definitely help them from a psychological trauma? Any employees, actually, so yesterday only I was listening to one interview on Aaj Tak television from Noida. So one employee, he was explaining his traumatic conditions that every day, 24 hours, he is in fear that tomorrow if I go to office, or tomorrow in fact I get in touch with my management, whether I am going to hand over a pink slip get handed over. So that's a concern, that's a trauma, and the entire family actually living with that. So this is also one kind of impact, you can say, that entire family is undergoing some kind of traumatic phase or condition. Then comes to CSR or philanthropy. So I'm not going to discuss. To me, the CSR in India is philanthropy. I'm very clear that I don't want even to call philanthropy a CSR, but here in India, this is what people understand. That's why for understanding, for this discussion, I'm using the terminology CSR, but CSR to me is not philanthropy. But so philanthropy or CSR, whatever you call it, has to be made purpose-driven. It has to be structured, and philanthropy should commit itself to address those critical issues which need the utmost attention regardless of no or low visibility of the brand. So CSR should not go after visibility of the brand at this point in time, at this difficult time. So then CSR extend CSR. CSR must extend its services to address some genuine or legitimate concerns of primary consumers of a company. So my big question in response to the first discussion, which I said, whether CSR is one of the approaches or rather the best approach to deal with the ravages of corona crisis, or for that matter, any emergency that occurs anytime, is how will you treat or rate a company which has laid off its employees on one hand and given a donation of 10 crore or more, even up to 100 crore to under CSR to Prime Minister Cares Fund on the other hand. So this is a moral question to answer. There are companies which have given hundreds of crores or 100 crores or up to 100 crores or more than 100 crores actually donation to PM Cares Fund, but simultaneously they have not taken care or well taken care of their own employees. And what is going to happen thereafter? Because when I am talking to many companies and their CSR heads, if there are some CSR heads listening to me, so my question to them is that you have given the entire CSR funds of this year or donated the entire funds to PM Care Fund. So what is that you are going to do the entire year from now on? Are you going to sit simply inside your room, or are you really thinking of? So this you have to be very creative, and also, and this is where I want to make through this webinar. I want to reach out to the companies and companies authorities, management, that they should not. Of course, they have to give or help our PM Cares Fund. They should, but they should also take some responsibilities on themselves to continue to do some kind of community work wherever there is huge impact of corona crisis. So that's what actually. So the answer definitely, so is it happening? So no. Is it the quality approach of CSR to deal with global pandemic? Can we call that so? And the answer obviously is no. So now, so this is the first part. In fact, I try to tell you. Now let's move on to part two of our discussion today, which is to discuss the rear or rather shadowed side of business responsibility, which puts a question mark on CSR, and does ask a question whether CSR, the way in fact we understand it or we practice it, I mean the conventional way of or conventional approach of philanthropy or CSR really has potential to address the challenges which are surfacing or going to emerge due to corona crisis post 2 months from now, especially on the economy and society. So this is something we have to do this. In fact, we have to understand what is the state of affairs of CSR today or philanthropy today. Or today means before corona crisis. Let's take a quick and brief account of CSR. What was happening before corona came to our country? 4 or 5 things. CSR was mostly about implementation of a wide range of small to big activities. So there were activities and projects, and that is how even the government would encourage you to do that. Okay, so how many projects you have done, how many activities you have done, and that is what companies were supposed to report. So companies were into compliance mode because now there is an act which is making CSR mandatory. So that is why companies actually went for compliance of it. One good thing I can definitely say that before 2014, only a handful of companies, especially coming from manufacturing sector and a few from other services and other sectors also. So they were doing CSR, but we had no information as to how much was India spending, till 2000, or annually companies would be voluntarily spending on CSR. But with this act, now we know that additionally 15,000 approximately, that is what is the approximation, that 15,000 to 20,000 additional fund is going to be spent every year under CSR for social or community development programs. But in effect, it is hovering around 11 to 12,000 crore annually. So this is what does it mean? Means all the companies which are supposed to comply with, so they are not spending 100% their CSR fund. So even then, 11 to 12,000 crore is getting spent annually, and these funds are spent largely in the area of education. Education and also is a major recipient of CSR funds, followed by healthcare, then water and sanitation. The sanitation and Swachh Bharat mission started, and everyone started constructing toilets without actually giving water to households. But anyway, but it was and skill building. That became a very popular program, skill building. Everyone was actually running some or the other kind of skill building program, and people were forced to, rather than some places, and also I have seen that people were forced to go under some skill building program, and they were given skills. And thereafter what? No, nobody knows, and whether they were really, placed in some work. Even after 6 months of the placement, nobody keeps track of them, whether they have dropped out from the work or not, all these kind of things. But largely, CSR funds were, to my personal assessment, my official assessment, I would say that, anecdotally, I would say that, CSR was spent more on miscellaneous activities, which ranged from distribution of blankets to several non-strategic activities or even donations, including supporting CSR seminars, conferences, and so on and so forth. So all these things were happening. So what was the strategy involved in CSR so far? The strategy for majority of companies was to save money if they could. There was no heart applied to it. There was no mind applied to it. The strategy was that also is 2% going away. So let's save something, if we can, by passing the rules on the act. But most importantly, if you look at what was the approach, because here we are talking about CSR as an approach. So what was the approach? The approach was absolutely fragmented. It was transactional. So today I am doing something, tomorrow I'll do something, and third day also I'll do something. CSR was completely unstructured. There was no structured approach to CSR. And it was largely sectoral because, as I said, most of the funds were spent in the area of education as a sector, or healthcare, another sector, or water, sanitation, and so on. So the approach was welfare. If I have to take just 30 seconds to tell you what welfare approach is, it is against the approach of integrated approach of development, which means that village becomes one unit, and that is where the Gandhiji, in fact, always put emphasis on taking village as one unit of development. He wanted always village to be considered as an independent republic. If that was the model India had applied to, definitely we would have, we'd not have this kind of problems so far. So approach was completely welfare. Under welfare approach, what happens? Anybody approaches you and say that, okay, so I'm hungry, give me food. So you are very sympathetic, and then you say you give food on that very day. But next day, in fact, so that person also disappears, and this also disappears from your mind that you are given food. So welfare approach is like that. It works on that principle. So this is how the CSR actually works. Now, with this, what did companies do? So companies, annually they submit their annual reports. So in their annual reports, if you do the analysis, you'll find that companies, by and large, were doing good since 2014, if not before. So since 2014, majority of companies, they did fairly well their businesses. So they grew. Everything, in fact, was doing good for them until 2019. Now, they made big claims also in their reports on social responsibility, and they created a false hype of CSR contribution, as if the CSR was going to bring humongous change in our society, in our country. So that is, and even that kind of hype still existing, as if so CSR is the only. You see, Government of India has a budget around between 8 to 10 lakh crore rupees, right? Which is not going to make impact on development. But here, so 15,000 crore, that is understood to be or considered to be making a huge impact. And this is where, so we are, living within a kind of a very falsehood and kind of other things. I'm sorry. So, and then one good thing but happened that CSR of big companies and some companies, they started linking their CSR to SDGs, and they started also reporting about it. But interestingly, I'm sorry, I cannot show you the graph, but I will encourage you to go to Niti Aayog's site. Niti Aayog, very interestingly, in the month of December 2019, they came out with a report, and this they admitted that what was the state of affairs with regard to development in India. So, they also prepared SDG-based report because India, as a signatory to United Nations resolution, and then we have to achieve, or we have to comply with our commitment to achieve goals by 2030. So I'm giving you references to only 3 indicators what happened, and it is not I'm saying, it is Niti Aayog report saying. I will definitely request you to go to Niti Aayog's report. So first, SDG number 1, which says no poverty. But Niti Aayog report says that poverty is going up since 2018. The second indicator I'm picking up, which Niti Aayog actually reported on, is on hunger. So SDG goal number 2. So more people going hungry since 2018. And the third indicator which I am taking is SDG goal number 10, to reduce inequality. So Niti Aayog on that also admits that income inequality has sharply increased since 2018. I just remind you, India did very good when it comes to achieving MDGs goal number 1, 2, 3, especially goal number 1, when India had to reduce the poverty by half. So in between 2006 and 2015-16, India reduced its poverty level from close to 55% to 29%. And then by 2017, the poverty level had gone down to 22%, exactly 21.9%. With the definitions given by Rangarajan committee. So now what is going to happen? So finally, you see, with this corona crisis, 22% poverty is going to go up to 46%. So coming back to this thing, and also one end you have this amount of problems, another end your company is actually making claims that, and also you have spent X thousand of crore, and that is how it has created. If it has created impact, then where is it? It should have a direct impact on poverty, on hunger, on unemployment, on income inequality, but it is not. Means I'm bringing this point over here to make my point that whatever CSR in fact we are doing, is not really going well into country's development. Now, if I have to actually take all what I said as of now together, then there are some questions which I have to actually, put before you. So did CSR or corporate philanthropy make any meaningful contribution? If I have to go by the statistics, then I will say no. Means CSR has failed. So the second question which I asked, did CSR or philanthropy fail? The answer is yes. If CSR has failed, then what failed CSR, or who failed CSR or philanthropy? Was that money not spent? Which is not true, because money is getting spent, money is being spent. Was that money not spent in right place and for right people? That again, it is one question which has to be examined into. And the second is, was CSR not structured? That is why CSR failed, or was CSR not consistent? Which I said, because it is not structured, it is not consistent, so was CSR not consistent? And the last question, which in the series of many questions, which I asked, didn't CSR have a purpose ever? So this is a very critical question, whether CSR ever had a purpose. So if we take cognizance of all of it, then we find CSR lacked some discipline. And that discipline essentially was approach. And that's where I'm trying to bring it to approach. So CSR did lack an approach. There is no approach even today. It was a plain philanthropy, and still it is so. It is plain philanthropy. Rather, it is an upgraded charity, not even philanthropy. If you ask me, my answer is that companies even not doing philanthropy. Forget about CSR. So they are into stages of an upgraded charity. So can we address such a humongous challenges that we already have, and now it is going to be multiple fold more due to coronavirus, which has thrown upon us. So let's do a quick analysis of the situation. The situation. So now I'm going to tell you. So what is the quantum of social and economic losses? This is of course a very initial approximation or calculation of social and economic losses, which is happening or going to happen due to corona. Now, the number one, 400 million migrant workers are unemployed because of the lockdown. So 400 million are more than 400 million. So we have an estimation of 450 plus million migrant workers. But I'm very conservative. I'm saying that 400 million migrant workers are employed. And this is not my figure. It has appeared in various researches. And all these things, in fact, I'm referring to what I'm going to share with you, have come from 4 or 5 researches so far have happened, very quick, rapid researches they have done, 4 or 5 organizations, and my own estimation of that. Now, according to Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, CMIE, unemployment has risen from 8.4% to 23.4%, which was in the first week of April. But very recently, the report has come and it says that the unemployment rate has gone above 28%. Now, these people are going to remain unemployed until they come back to the mainstream activities, which is highly unlikely. Within 6 months, it is not going to happen. Those who have returned back their homes are not going to come back soon. It is going to minimum, as per our estimation, it is going to take minimum 6 months, because their confidence has been completely shattered, in the sense, and also they are very they are broken in the sense that nothing really worked out well for them in the time of emergency. So it is going to take time. Agriculture, take agriculture, it is a big hit, right? And there will be huge pressure on land fragmentation, because all these population, migrant workers population, going back to their respective homes. Please understand this very carefully. So they will now depend more on land. So whatsoever land, in fact, they had left behind, now in a family, it is going to get fragmented. So if I give you an account of, by 2018, India had, on an average, the land holding size, which was 1.08. Sorry. Is there somebody speaking? Anyway, so average land holding size, which was 880 to go from. Can you just so hunger harms children due to long disruption of midday meal. This is again midday meal for over 3 months, not given. So hunger among these sort of children going to go up. Hunger in general is going to go up, and India stands behind Pakistan, mind you, behind Pakistan, even your neighbors Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. So hunger is going to be an issue. Education, enrollment definitely is going to get impacted. dropout rate going to be higher because these people have to be, so some of the children of migrant workers who were enrolled in school in formal or formal way, so their education is going to get disrupted. So poverty in all actually has been estimated to increase now from 21.9% to 46% at 1.95 dollar per day per capita. So this is something. So poor is not that in rural areas going to be affected, also in urban areas. So all of them will lead to all-time high. Three things: inequality is going to be all-time high, and due to that inequality, social conflicts are going to go up, and which is going to create a problem of social injustice in our society. Now, if that is the situation we can visualize, then that this present model of conventional philanthropy, does it have enough power to mitigate this sort of losses? The obvious answer is no, and we should not actually create that kind of expectations from CSR. But CSR definitely can help the ongoing efforts of the government, and that's where so we companies have to really change the strategy and approaches to CSR. So charity and philanthropy is not going to work. The drivers which happen to be before Corona came, was so reputation, social licenses or compliances. Now the drivers have to be changed or shifted to being moral, ethical, sustainable business. Human rights have to be included in that, and that has to drive a company to get into CSR. And equity and equality definitely have to be given trust. Now comes to approach. What happens to approach? Right now, the approach is complete humanitarian approach, which is driven out of sympathy or whatever it is. So first, the companies, they dehumanize, and then under CSR, they humanize as a process of, development. So they have to understand that, so they have to change their approach from humanitarian to humanism. You see, I'm just dropping or floating these terminologies, but let me make you understand, humanitarian is not the right approach for addressing sustainable development issues. It is humanism. So humanism is the reason for being humanitarian. So companies have to stop dehumanization first, and they have to actually integrate empathetic. They have to be more empathetic than sympathetic. So these are the things actually will require. Now, new CSR or quality CSR, what your topic says, according to that, if I have to, so we'll demand for following action. As I said, that it has to go for a shift. As a goalpost have to be shifted from conventional business to not modern. Please, I repeat, the shift has to happen from conventional business to not modern but futuristic capitalism, which is more conscious, responsible, and accountable. Again, I repeat, these are the three attributes going to give capitalism or businesses sustainability. One is conscious. It has to be conscious capitalism, responsible capitalism, and accountable to stakeholders. Therefore, to my assessment, Corona pandemic, if I have to consider Corona pandemic in the present, has given us the opportunity to embrace and integrate 8 R's. 8 R's, which I'm going to tell you one after another. One is that that has to be essentially taken into business principles. One is that relook at the business vision. Has to be more human. The business has to be more human. So business vision should not only visualize the profits, the growth. Rather, it has to be more human and with with that approach, actually, so you have to visualize how much growth, in fact, you are going to achieve. Then second R is revisit the policies and guidelines. Every company has certain policies in place. So HR policies or marketing policy or procurement policies, sourcing policies, and so on and so forth. So now all these policies have to be revisited and have to be seen from the perspective of as to how these conscious, responsible, and accountable businesses I can make. And that's how the policy is going to give guidelines to all the stakeholders to remain associated or invested with the company in a responsible manner. Third R is rearranging your priorities. So priorities definitely businesses have to have a priority to make profit. But within that framework of making profit, I think the other priorities, in fact, you have to set. So who should be given priorities? Is it employees over investors, or investors over employees, or communities over employees, or vice versa? Likewise, what I say that, so you have to rearrange your priorities. Then you have to redefine the role of CSR, and then it comes to role of CSR. CSR not in terms of philanthropy. Again, I'm cautioning it. CSR in a broader context, in a larger context, and all the dimensions, important dimensions have to be taken into consideration. Then the fifth R is resetting the social goals for achieving economic goals, and then realign them internally as well as externally. So externally also you have to realign those goals or social goals with goals of like SDGs or even country development goals, something like that. Then sixth R is redesign the organizational structure for meeting those social goals. So what is in your design to implement CSR or deliver CSR? In the design of delivering CSR today, it is one set of organization created within the organization, and again has been given largely the additional responsibility to some other functions like HR or security or whatnot. And or in some companies they have hired people from NGO sectors. But here, I think, if at all, the CSR which I am talking about is about responsible business management, and that goes beyond philanthropy. That goes beyond a particular primary functional responsibility. So responsible business management, which is what actually is going to be very pertinent and also very relevant. So everyone has to be a CSR person in the organization, right from the CEO, the top guy, till the lowest guy working as so whatsoever. So everyone has to be given some orientation, and this is how the organization has to be redesigned and structured. And then the seventh one is recalibrate your operational strategies. So strategies you have, but it requires the operational strategies, you have to actually recalibrate it before you redirect your valuable resources. So the last one is redirecting your valuable resources. So everything, redirecting resources means your resources are limited. You should not, so today, you are spending, so even if you are giving away your money to any care fund, you are not bothered about as to how and where this money is going to be utilized. So your resources, whatsoever you have, I think so every single rupee, you should be actually bothered about, and where is that rupee going to, and how this rupee I am going to put in for this thing. So these are 8 R's which I said. So towards concluding my lecture of the day or this webinar, just a couple of things more I would like to say. So even if you consider CSR as philanthropy, then what should be your approach in today's context? How are you going to address the challenges of Corona through your philanthropy? So my suggestion to companies with regard to philanthropy is that they should be suspending all their activities at this point in time and redirect, not directing their resources to only two areas. So, you see, construction of a school building can wait for 2 years. Construction of toilets can wait for 2 years. Computerization of a school can wait for 2 years. Setting up water ATM can wait for 2 years. But next 2 years going to be very critical for India. And if we do not come and join hands together to address this problem, then India is going to go back. If my approximation or my estimation says that definitely we are going to go back to 80s, right? And where also our growth was very slow, and it will take another 50 years or 30 to 50 years to come back to or make a comeback to this situation. So where exactly I'm suggesting the two areas where companies philanthropy should be working in is number one, agriculture. 50% of your CSR resources should be invested towards of agriculture sector. Agriculture, farm activities, non-farm activities like which are huge. I think it's a poultry. You know what is the quantum of poultry loss today? It's about 200 crore every day, and we have to bring poultry back, on track. Then you have dairy as a sector which is giving huge employment, and then again the farm sector. So I think the time has come for corporate under CSR or philanthropy. They should be investing their money rightfully in the area of agriculture. And the second is creating low income employment. What I mean by low income employment means in a village even today, if you create opportunity which can give them say 3,000 employment, so that would be sufficient for a family to sustain. So what I mean that companies have to really come out innovatively and think about these kinds of low income employment in rural areas as well as in urban areas. Before I'm going to leave with some questions. So now with this understanding of CSR, the way CSR is being understood and practiced, the conditions we have seen, and the demand, the condition which are going to demand CSR to react in a particular manner, leave behind three plus three questions, some inward questions, which every company has to ask, or every professionals associated with CSR to ask, or even my fraternity of teaching, they have to actually ask. Is the pedagogy of CSR right? Number one. Or second is CSR meeting the purpose? Or will CSR meet the purpose? And third question, which I'm going to leave with, is CSR responsible, just, and fair? These are the two questions that we have. And then I'm going to invoke two quotes, which are very important, which are the basis of, if at all, and so I have to say that socialist approach to capitalism, then it is Karl Marx. Once he said that from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. And mind you, this is what has become so relevant today that so we have come to a stage where so we have to give away according to our ability to those who really need. And with regard to need, Mahatma Gandhi, another great personality of of the world, who said the world has enough for everyone's needs, but not everyone's greed. I think with this, I am going to stop here, and I would like to take questions if there are any. So thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a very enlightening talk. In fact, I'm here to pose the questions that the participants have been, sending in for you. So the first question is from Mr. Jayesh Solanki. He says that since the post-corona period is going to be tough and companies may be forced to take stringent actions, and some of these actions could be unethical in the CSR context, how can we amend the CSR policy of 2014 to curb such unethical activities?
Jayesh, no?
Yes, sir. Mr. Jayesh Solanki.
Yeah, Mr. Jayesh Solanki, my answer to your question is very simple. I think, why are you looking at somebody to, or some act to really guide you? It is absolutely voluntary. Now, if voluntary has been made mandatory, then now you have to move towards another step of self-regulatory. The CSR has to be self-regulatory. And that's where so you have to regulate your CSR the way you want to do it, the way it is moral, the way it is ethical. Government is not, and no one is going to question on this, that your CSR. Yes, there would be challenges because there would be some pressure from here and there. And this is a time when you have to stand very tough. You have to remain grounded with your own principles, your own ethos and everything. So my answer, my simple answer is that you don't look at the act. Act is one thing which is, which has made every company which falls within that category have to simply make contribution of 2% of their profits in the area of development or community development. That's it. But CSR is beyond philanthropy, and you have to begin with your own organization. Hope I have answered your question.
Thank you, sir. He also asks, what can be the new strategies for company CSR in the skill development landscape, since unemployment is obviously going to increase?
So as I said, so I gave you statistics also, and then I said in the end that only 2 areas companies have to. So I'm happy that so JS is in alignment with my thought process that unemployment has to be addressed. Now, how it is going to be addressed? Skill building definitely is one area, but unless until we create our formal sector very strong, so we are not going to absorb, or even informal sectors like MSME sectors, where your approximately 78%, 87% of your workers are working, right? So I think unless until these 2 sectors come out very strongly and create opportunities for new employment. And let me tell you the challenges, I just give you again another statistics that as per NSSO study, every year India has approximately 13 million new aspirants entering to the area of employment. 13 million, which actually goes up to 19 million according to ILO assessment. So this is the biggest challenge that India has to provide employment. Now that is why I have suggested that low income, villages we have to create some kind of opportunities so that so they can make earning of say not if not more around 4,000, 5,000 income. And that is what is going to give them sustainability in terms of not going beyond the boundary. So there are 2 things involved in it. One is that the employment in informal and formal sector. So that will require some kind of skills. So that's where companies definitely can give them skills, but the skills have to be as per the market requirement. Not that again, age-old things, everyone has to become carpenter or everyone has to become tailor. No. So whatever market has the requirement, it has to be aligned to or linked to that. This is one. But largely the employment has to be created, which has to remain informal. Especially you have SHGs. Now SHGs, there was a movement, SHGs created. Now SHGs have to be revived and they have to be given. Manrega, I have given my suggestion to even Prime Minister. So Manrega is a very successful program according to me. At least, has given 100 days ensured employment. Now Manrega has to be doubled. This 100 days have to be doubled to 200 days. So all those things, but with regard to company, I think they have to be creative around about creating small enterprising activities, so that so villages live in villages or small places. They don't have to essentially migrate to big cities. Over to you.
Okay, so now the next few questions are actually related to, the CSR vis-a-vis the PM CARES donations that have been coming up. So I'll just read out 4 questions together. The first is, Dr. Mayilvagan questions how donation to PM CARES should qualify as CSR. Then there's another question which says, do you see the conflict between eligibility of CSR contributions in PM CARES versus state corona funds? Also, contribution in PM CARES and simultaneously making the situation compelling for workers to move in the highways. How ethical and responsible is this, as CSR?
The last part of the question, what was that?
So the last question was contribution in PM CARES and simultaneously making the situation compelling for workers to move in the highways. How ethical and responsible is this CSR? I think he means to say, if a company is on the one hand contributing to PM CARES, but on the other hand, its workers are forced to migrate and go back home. How ethical and how responsible is this?
Absolutely. It is highly unethical on part of companies. So companies definitely should have, and that's why in fact my emphasis or focus is on. So if companies were really ethical and moral, then they would have retained these employees, taken care of these employees, their needs, and that's how they would have. That was an opportunity for the employers to build say psychological bonding and a strong bonding between the employees and the employers, which they lost it. Number one, just because it was going to cost them some lakhs or crores, right? They could have managed. So this is highly unethical on their part, and I know that so there are interviews. So I was going through that interviews. So one question asked to one of the migrant workers whether he will like to come back and work with the same organization where he was working. His answers were in 2 parts. Number one, he said, so first, now I will not like to come back to a place like Delhi or where he was employed. He would like to search out for work. Even if that doesn't work or work out well for him, then he will definitely come back. But that will take some time. But certainly he will not work for that particular organization or employer. So the trust factor definitely has been shattered, and then all these workers definitely have felt it very bad, although they are not expressing that way because they are not getting that kind of opportunity. So yes, it is highly. Now coming to the first 2 questions. So PM CARES Fund, you see, PM CARES Fund, I'm not against this PM CARES Fund, and there has to be and there should have been, so it has been created. My only concern with, or my reservations actually, so with the corporates, you see, this was the time they should not have actually given the fund from CSR budget. They should have given additional fund, additional to CSR funds to care funds, and would have made it very clear to PMOs or whosoever that so these contributions and donations are given over and above the commitment under CSR which they have. But unfortunately, it did not happen because government also encouraged, and one notification said that any contribution made towards this will qualify as CSR. So everyone actually, so that was much easier for companies, and this is going to have a very adverse impact on companies' direct engagement in communities, because those companies which have to spend say around 5 crore or 10 crore rupees will take a decision which is much easier for them. Okay, give it to PM Cares Fund and that's it, and we don't have to bother. So there are several issues associated with PM Cares Fund which I think the government in future has to look into, and then this kind of fund has to be disassociated from CSR. Otherwise, so you have PM Care Funds, then you have PM Natural Disaster Fund, and all these funds, in fact, allow funds under CSR to come. So that's how companies are very, very, relaxed in the sense that, okay, so, okay, give it to these funds. Now, state care funds. Any contribution made to state care funds in the name of Corona care funds or likewise will not qualify as CSR, and rightly so, because then it will be real difficult on part of companies to, then these funds will become a kind of appeasement fund, that okay, so respective state government has to be made happy. That's why also one portion of that actually given to that, and another portion to PM fund. I think so it will go political. The second thing is that dilution will happen, so if it happens, but it is not stopping to contribute to areas which are given in the Schedule 7. So if any contribution is given towards healthcare, so will qualify, as CSR, even for the after this, Corona things, or livelihood, it will qualify. So then there the companies have to link it to Schedule 7 of the activities. That's it.
Thank you, sir. And I finally take the last question. This is, what is the most vivid, immediate, and compelling impact of COVID-19 on CSR in India in general, according to you?
Madam, I don't want to sound very pessimistic, but I think all of these things, what we have discussed, that CSR space is going to be largely impacted. Especially, first thing is that the fund is going to get impacted because now almost all the PSUs are empty. I'm giving this information. I'm giving information to all who are participating, except for those continued activities, so they have kept some fund. Otherwise, remaining balance, whatever was there, so they have simply transferred to PM Cares Fund. So what does it mean? That they are not going to be working the rest of the year? So they have several questions. Similarly, even in the private sector also, this is what is going to happen. So PM Cares Fund definitely going to make a huge impact on CSR expenditure and all. So this is where so we have to run a kind of very soft campaign and encourage companies not to transfer 100% funds to PM Cares Fund, so that also they retain some funds in order to spend in the area of agriculture promotion or employment generation kind of thing, whatever. So I think CSR as a sector going to be impacted, not this year, means this financial year 2021, even after that 21-22. So 2 years definitely we are going to see some impacts, and time will say how these impacts are going to get accumulated to create another sort of impact. So that so we have to wait and watch as to how things move. Another thing which I'm saying that, this NGO sector, as you know that before this Corona crisis came, Ministry of Corporate Affairs went for modification of some rules, some amendments. So they are introducing a 2020 amendment rule. In that, and also they are declining the role of, or not declining, eliminating the role of NGOs, which is very bad. And this is a major concern. If you write off NGOs from your country, then who? CSR companies don't have organizations. And our government, we know that, and also government has its own organization, has failed in last over 70 years. So all these things are going to happen, and at this point in time, I see a huge role of NGO sector because they are working on the ground, and especially what I mean, not big size NGOs, large size NGOs. I mean, I refer to all medium size and small size grassroots NGOs which are making impact. So they have to be strengthened. Their hands have to be strengthened. If at all or not, we have to fight the consequences or ravages of COVID-19 in rural areas. Then NGOs definitely have to work in partnership with corporates and governments.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Sinha. You've been very patient with our questions. I now request Dr. Ninad Jhala to give the vote of thanks. Thank you.
You are welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Nidhi. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Respected companions and my guides to learning, on behalf of Anand Institute of Social Work, Bhopal School of Social Sciences, and Shri Guru Nanak Dev Khalsa College, I express my sincere gratitude to Professor Sudhir Sinha sir. He is a CSR visionary, a satyagrahi and a crusader rolled into one, and a mentor par excellence, for sharing his valuable time and expertise with all of us on this learning journey. His certain acronyms which he gave, the 8 R's, the responsibility, accountability, and consciousness, are something which are eye-openers. And all the more, I warmly thank you all for joining with us on this learning journey. The journey began 4 webinars ago, and we look forward to many more such enriching sessions with all of you. Please keep connected with us on various social media platforms. A special thanks is also due to Dr. Sukhvinder Kaur, Dr. Nidhi Verma, Dr. Savilata Yadav for their tech inputs as well as their tech efforts that has made this webinars possible, and to Ms. Jewel Kent for without their interventions, all of us would be devoid of the certifications. Finally, I also wish to thank my close companions, Dr. Deepak sir and Dr. Shiba madam, for all the motivation and momentum of our synergic efforts. Finally, be safe. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Ninad.
My pleasure, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. This session, this webinar, complete. Thanks a lot.